We live in a world where scientific advances in agriculture have radically redefined our relationship with food in our society. But ironically, along with solving many of the problems that plagued our ancestors for centuries, we are creating new problems that our forefathers could never have dreamed of. In this film, we explore some of these issues and examine some of the ways we as individuals can take responsibility to ensure a more sustainable approach to our relationship with food and the impact that it has on our lives and the world around us.
You just choose to support local grown foods, support community agriculture. What you're really doing is investing in the community, and your food choice is kind of your way of voting with your fork.
Most of this film was shot in and around Greenville, Michigan, a city of 8,000 people. This is our hometown. And in our town, when most of the people go to the grocery store to buy food, they aren't thinking about the fact that their potatoes came from Idaho, their lettuce from Arizona, their carrots from Texas, their tomatoes came from Florida, their peaches from New York, their corn came from Kansas, their eggs came from Alabama, their chicken comes from Louisiana, their beef comes from Colorado, their pork comes from Tennessee, and their milk comes from Pennsylvania. Most people don't realize the tremendous amount of resources and money wasted on the transportation and distribution of food. Most people are just looking at the price tag on the food on the shelves, but not at the cost the system exacts on our health, our economy, or our environment.
I think one of the fun things that we discovered doing this film was there's a lot of opportunity for little mini adventures, just looking to support local farmers. You don't have the convenience of going to the grocery store and getting all your food items in excessive plastic packaged garbage for you to make them even more attractive so you buy them because some marketing guy decided that's what he wanted. What you get when you sacrifice that convenience, you actually get equality. By local people actually care and actually have something to invest of themselves when they engage in this kind of lifestyle, supporting locally grown farming, locally grown food. You really are investing in yourselves and in the world around you rather than exploiting a distant resource. Your average tomato, I read, comes like 1,500 miles before it gets to your dinner plate. Here we're buying tomatoes that are 8 or 12 miles tops from our house, So we actually know the farmers and respect them, and they invited us out to their farm and showed us some of the things that they were doing and some of the ways they were trying to improve their yield and their turnover and productivity, and doing it in a way that was more in tune with the traditional agricultural heritage that we really do have in this country, and one of the things that made us great. One of the examples of how a sustainable agricultural system really affects our daily lives, one of the things you can look at is the environment, all right? You've got all these different pesticides that they're being put in, so many pounds per acre, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot when you consider the fact that these pesticides and these herbicides that they put on the fields that eventually end up in our waste stream or runoff into the creeks, streams, and lakes. The insects that eat them, the fish that eat them, they all absorb these toxins and they're building up. So then, say you're going down to the pond to catch a fish, what you're really doing is eating a lot of those pesticides, and it isn't like just it's a lot more diluted when they spread it out over the land, but when you're concentrating in living animals that eat each other and further concentrating in other animals, what you're doing is you get a nice healthy dose of DDT that hasn't even been sprayed in this country for how many years, and we're still getting it in the soil and in the water. You're getting a ton of other nasty chemicals that you don't want in your food chain, and in our drinking water too. It's contaminated everywhere. So that environment is definitely a major example of how supporting community agriculture really is going to affect your lives. And you've also got to worry about animal waste. In these large factory industrialized settings, these CAPO settings, you got concentrated feed operations, but they're also concentrated manure operations.
We are all familiar with the idyllic image of the modern farm. Happy cows, pigs, and chickens, living in relative calm and contentment in rolling green pastures, lounging under green trees in the shade, where life seems to take a more relaxed pace. A scene where the farmer and his family have an honest relationship with the land and see themselves as servants and protectors of the land. A place where the farmer works in harmony with nature and is grateful for what Providence has given him in return for his honest efforts. Most people do not have any idea, or don't want to admit it to themselves, where their food actually comes from. The ways and means that so much food is produced is far from the picturesque vignettes that our ancestors participated in. The reality is, now food production is treated the same as any other mass-scale manufacturing. The foods you consume are simply treated like any other raw material, as a commodity to be manipulated and exploited for maximum profit potential. The health of the consumer and the ecosystem is not even considered in these endeavors.
Cow manure and pig manure and chicken manure that you don't need getting into your system, and the ecosystem isn't really designed to have 40,000 head of cattle taking a dump simultaneously, you know, and what's going to happen is that's got to go somewhere, and where it goes is into your food chain and into your drinking supply. What about the impact from oil and wars and politics? I think one of the things you have to worry about is we are on a carbon-based economy and not on like a more idealistic system like a hydrogen-based economy, where we depend on a fossil fuel for our energy needs and for all the synthetic plastic garbage we make in our society. And I think one of the things you have to take into account is if we went to a more sustainable, local-based system, you wouldn't have to worry about wars for oil and the politics for oil. Look at all the economic sanctions we had against Iraq for so many years, and what good did that do? The rich got richer and the poor got skinnier. You know, and watch CNN and you'll see it.
In the summer of 2008, the United States was contending with escalating fuel costs. In Michigan alone, $4 per gallon gas prices not only affected people's daily lives when they needed to drive, but we also saw food prices rise at the grocery store and at restaurants everywhere. Practically every store and restaurant had a sign posted that basically apologized for the increase in food costs due to the rising fuel prices. Basically, the cost of practically everything you could find in the store was affected by the cost of fuel to transport goods over long distances. When we buy local, not only do you eliminate such wasteful fuel consumption and the demand for even more fuel, you also ensure that your hard-earned dollars stay within the community.
I think another thing that really goes to show how your food choices and what you bring to the table can affect your life, if you look at your economy situation, all right? Right now I was reading some facts the other day that in this country your average American farmer is making less than your average McDonald's employee. You know, the guy selling you the Big Mac and fries makes more than the farmer, which is kind of a stunning indictment of where our values really are with the whole food situation in this country. All right, and how it affects the local economy is, you know, I buy my food from the farmer. He's getting the share that would have gone to the middleman if I had bought that at the grocery store. You know, the guy who stocked it, the lady who rang me out at the cash register, the guy who owns the store, the guy who drove the truck, the guy who owns the fuel company that fueled the trucks, the guy out in Arizona or California or wherever that picked on the farm, the guy who owns the farm. All these people are not getting their cut. When I go to the local farmer, he's getting a more of an honest price for the efforts of his labor, the fruits of his labor, so to say. So these things, I think, have a real tangible effect when you do make these choices to go local and to go sustainable and to go even organic and vegetarian in general.